let's take a look at the text then. And on page 74, it starts with a prayer to the lineage. So this is an example of a lineage prayer here. Om Ah Hong. By offering this fine and pleasing mandala, may obstacles not arise on the path to enlightenment. May the intention of the sagatas of the 3 times be realized, and without being confused in the cycle of existence or dwelling in quietism, may beings throughout space transcend. So you notice it refers to the mandala because we've just finished the mandala offering here. To the Dharmakaya Samittabhadra, the original Lord, and Samittabhadra is often referred to as the primordial Buddha, so that original Lord is referring to that. To the victor Vajradhara, the nature of the 6 Buddha families. Now normally we refer to 5 Buddha families, but in this case Vajradhara is a form of the primordial Buddha. In the Nyingma tradition, in the Sarma traditions, first start with that, he kind of replaces Samittabhadra, but in the Nyingma tradition you still have Samittabhadra, and then you have Vajradhara as a kind of a second form of the primordial Buddha, and then the 5 Buddha families. And here it talks about 6, so they're including him along with the other 5. And to the supreme-minded Vajrasattva, he kind of comes next in the priority list, if you will. Foremost of guides, I pray to the lineage of the victor's contemplation. To the Vidyadhara Garab, this is Garab Dorje, supreme emanated being. To Guru Sri Simha, foremost spiritual son of the victor. To the immortal Padmasambhava, achiever of the Vajrabhati. To the Dakini Yeshitsogyal, vessel of secret mantra, I pray to the lineage of the Vidyadhara's knowledge. So these are the first people in that lineage, coming not through Shakyamuni Buddha, but through Samittabhadra. And then it continues on with the people who then continued the lineage in human forms. To Karmalingpa, the master of profound treasures, he was the treasure revealer that revealed this particular text, and so he's mentioned here. The one named Choje, the Supreme Heart Son. To the one named Suryakandra or Chandra, the protector of the world in degenerate times, I pray to the lineage of individuals with authoritative oral teachings. Now, one of the things to notice here is that these all fit in sets of 4. And that's just a pattern that is typically used in writing Tibetan text, is that they'll put things in sets of 4. So just something to be aware of. To the Master Dharma, the Chinese monk named Namka. To Sonam Ozer, who realized the meaning of the 2 stages. To the Venerable Punya Shri, who perfected the 2 accumulations. To Sonam Chokangwa, who spontaneously accomplished the 2 aims. To Natsok Rangthar Drol, the supreme guide to the 3 times. To Kunga Drakpe Pal, the protector of beings of the 3 realms. To Dogak Tenzin J, who personified the 3 types of embodiments. To Trinli Lundrup Tsal, who progressed through the 4 visions. To Gyurme Dorje De, Lord of the 4 embodiments. To Lochen Dharma Shri, who revealed the meanings of the 4 empowerments. To Rinchen Nampar Gyal, son of the victors. To Padma Tenzin, supreme Nirmanakaya being. To Karma Vijaya, preserver of the heritage of the Vidyadharas. To Trinli Chokye Drong, inborn bliss and emptiness. To Dorje Ziji Tsal, who possessed the 7 oral lineages. To Gyurme Nadan Duang, who directly perceived the reality itself. To Dujam Drodung Ling, treasure ripening liberation and the expanse. To the peaceful and wrathful chosen deities of indivisible appearances and emptiness. To the oceanic oceanic assembly of Dakinis, Dharma protectors, and Samaya preservers. I pray to the assembly of deities of the three roots. And then it continues on the next page. All spiritual mentors of the oral lineage who offer whatever training is needed. If your training were to fall into decline, it would be to the sorrow of contemplatives born in this era. So please lead all beings from the swamp of the cycle of existence. If we call upon you with a roar of anguish, please think of your earlier solemn promise. From the expanse of the space of the absolute nature, reveal your countenance with its signs and symbols of enlightenment, and lead all beings from the swamp of the cycle of existence. With the resounding Brahma words of emptiness, may the entrance to the treasury of your mind be opened, and with the outpouring of light rays of your wisdom and compassion, please lead all beings from the swamp of the cycle of existence. Now liberate every being of this final era. Now grant the stream of the four pristine empowerments. Now liberate the four continua of confusing mental afflictions. Please lead all beings from the swamp of the cycle of existence. Now bestow the fruition of the four embodiments of the Sugatas. May I become a spiritual mentor to guide all limitless parent sentient beings throughout space. Please lead all beings from the swamp of the cycle of existence. So that is the prayer listing various lineage masters, as well as this request for them to use whatever abilities they have to help all of us and all sentient beings actually to attain enlightenment. So that's very typical of the kind of lineage prayers that we would see. I've actually requested many, many times Khenchen Lama to give us his lineage prayer, and he does have a very nice description of the lineage, but he doesn't have, at least in English, a prayer form. So we're working on getting that. So someday maybe we'll get his lineage prayer that we can then use. So at this point then, although it's not actually mentioned in the text, is where you would then recite the mantra. Okay, so following the lineage prayer, you would recite the mantra, Om Ahum Binzaguru Pema Siddhi Hung, over and over, however many times you can, based on the amount of time that you have to do your practice. And so then we receive the actual four empowerments. Now, in the version that we're doing, the mantra, it follows, no, we do the mantra, then we receive, so it fits there. And so, from the crown of the head of the spiritual mentor with the consort white Om, together with light rays, descends to the point between my eyebrows. So the light from between his eyebrows, from the Om, is coming into our forehead. Upon receiving the vase empowerment, physical obscurations are purified. Please grant me the cities of the body. From the throat of the spiritual mentor with consort, red Ah, together with light rays, descends upon my taste faculty. Upon receiving the secret empowerment, verbal obscurations are purified. Please grant me the cities of speech. From the heart of the spiritual mentor with consort, dark blue Hum, together with light rays, descends upon the center of my heart. Upon receiving the primordial wisdom empowerment, mental obscurations are purified. Please grant me the cities of mind. From the navel of the spiritual mentor with consort, red Hri, together with light rays, descends upon the center of my navel. The obscuration of grasping onto the three doors is different, is purified, and I receive the fourth indivisible inborn empowerment. And then there's a verse that then, having received the four empowerments, glorious, precious, primary spiritual mentor, constantly, inseparably remain in the center of the lotus of my heart and look after me out of your great kindness. Please grant me the cities of body, speech, and mind. Glorious spiritual mentor, may we become exactly like your form with your retinue, lifespan, pure realm, and with your supreme excellent signs. So that is the end of the process and the description. So in the actual practice, we began, as we've done before, setting our intention. Whether it's to benefit all sentient beings or other personal intention is fine. And then we recite the Refuge Prayer 3 times. And in this one, it's based on the 7-line prayer. So we begin with the 7-line prayer. Not all versions have the Om Ah Hong at the beginning. This one does, which means that as you look at it, you see then down at the bottom you have Guru Pema Siddhi Hong. So you've got the entire mantra there with the 7-line prayer in the middle, if you will. Some start right with that first line of the actual prayer and then have the Guru Pema Siddhi Hong at the end. So there are differences in how it's put together. So Om Ah Hong in the northwest of the land of Oregon. This is the area that Padmasambhava is from, the land of Odiana or Udiana. You'll also see it in those forms. And it is believed by scholars to be the area of the Swat Valley, which today we see in the news fairly often as being associated with the Taliban. They seem to be hiding out in that area of Pakistan. And so somewhere around that area is where they believe this was, and it was particularly noted for, sometimes even referred to as the land of the Dakinis. And so there are many references to Dakinis in this particular area. So in the northwest of the land of Oregon, in the heart of a lotus flower, and this is a reference to Padmasambhava being born and appearing first on the lotus in the lake, endowed with the most marvelous attainments. And so he was already, even though he was considered to be an 8-year-old, he was considered to be fully enlightened, even though subsequent to that, then he went through all of the teachings and relearned them, if you will. You are renowned as the Lotus Born. Lotus Born is a translation of his name, Padmasambhava. Surrounded by many hosts of Dakinis. And so you visualize him as having these various Dakinis. Many of his teachers were in fact Dakinis. And so that's what's being referenced here. He also had a number of human consorts during his lifetime, the most famous two of which are Mandarava, which the time he was in India, and Yeshe Tsogyal, when the time he was in Tibet. So surrounded by many hosts of Dakinis, following your footsteps, I pray to you, come and bless me with your grace. So those lines simply a request for a blessing, and then Guru Pema Siddhi Hong. So we generate this sense of devotion to Padmasambhava and the lineage, and all of those who came before us. Then we recite the mantra as many times as we can. Om Ah Hong Benzu Guru Pema Siddhi Hong. I've spelled it out here in the Tibetan pronunciation, but you can do it either way if you like. And then when we complete that part, then we visualize the 4 empowerments. The white Om light to our forehead, the red Ah light to our neck, to our throat, and then the blue Hong to our heart, and then the red Hri to our navel area, and then the aspects of the empowerment that we actually receive, the purification that we receive, the seeds that are planted as a part of that, and so forth. We just imagine all of those things as a part of receiving those. And then we simply dedicate the merit at the end. So a relatively simple kind of a practice. When we're reciting the mantra, we continue to visualize Padmasambhava. In that case, we're using the visualization of the refuge tree with Padmasambhava in the center that we used for doing the refuge. And so the same one that we used there we can use for this, or just visualizing Padmasambhava himself or with consort. Either any of those work, but we continue the visualization as we do the mantra. And this is actually a way of helping to train our mind. And remember, Buddhism is about training our mind. And so we're training our mind to be able to both do a visualization and recite something at the same time. Okay? and feel it as well. So we're embodying these different aspects of being able to do this. So it's not just one thing. And we start with shamatha, single-pointed focus. But as we do this, the visualizations become more complex. And as we move into part 4, we'll actually go through that as we start with relatively simple visualizations and move to more and more complex visualizations as we get into the advanced practices of the highest Yoga Tantra. So we'll be doing all of those in part 4 of the class. And using these and building on these practices as we go through that.